I woke up very unhappy. Dude, I'm very scared. Scared. I was scared. I did not have fun watching the movie. I'm just like panicked. Goosebumps. Scared. I want to leave. I think in terms of scared, I was very scared. I'm scared.
All right, guys, real quick before we start. Yeah. What did the Italian guy say when he got to the haunted house? Where's the freaking gabagools?
Wow.
All right.
I like how you said before we start, as though you don't think I'm going to put that in.
Welcome back, Freakazoids, to the 9th ever episode of 2 Men and a Baby, the less than 1 hour-ish horror show where three best friends discuss a new horror movie each episode. I, William Dubbs, our very humble and totally fearless leader.
Humble and fearless. Two totally
separate things. You get it?
Things.
Fearless leader, dude. Self-appointed. Am joined, as usual, to my left by the comedian, very funny Abbie Krinsky, and to my right...
I am the most humblest.
And to my right, the musician turned horror-storian.
Daddy's home.
Brandon Fletcher.
Horror-storian, dude.
Horror-storian? Horror-storian?
No,
okay,
really
all right. This episode, we'll be discussing the 2024 very hyped Longlegs, directed by Osgood Perkins, starring Micah Monroe and my absolute boy, Nicky Cage. Before we kick things off, the real important announcement, guys. This is important. From the 2 Men and a Baby family. What's the word, like the nicer word for slavery?
Oh, God. Taking this whole part out.
The nicer word for slavery?
Not internship, but indentured servitude.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So we got a couple of those. Our dear friends, Ryan, who is with us right now in the booth, very, very helpful.
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan Delicagna.
Delicagna.
I don't even know how to say your fucking...
For those of you who don't know, Ryan Delicagna, a.k.a. Mr. Pants. Go watch it on YouTube's. Yeah, is anyone else on a TV show on YouTube? No, I don't think so.
Wait, you are. All right, and also...
He's not allowed on mic. Don't ask him. He can't talk.
Rosie Wilt and Maddie Burke are going to be helping us out going forward. So we have effectively doubled our team.
There might be some names redacted by the time you hear this, but they're on the team for right now.
They're probably going to quit before this episode airs. Ryan's actually walking out of the mixing booth.
Brennan, hit your jingle, dude.
2 men and a baby, oh yeah. 2 men and a motherfucking baby.
The way we usually kick things off is we kind of go around and we each give our one sentence and one sentence only synopsis of the movie, and then we pull up the real one so folks know what it's actually about. Did you guys write yours?
No. But
so just FYI, I saw the movie about an hour and a half ago. No, that's not right. About 2.5 hours ago. And
Brendan was too busy to come watch with me and Will because Brendan was on a 49-day family reunion retreat.
And they were texting me. They're like, "What's a family reunion?" And I was like, "Well, let me explain it from the perspective of someone whose family actually loves them." We were in the pool. We did some softball. Actually, we didn't play softball.
Did you guys have
year.
matching shirts?
We had matching shirts.
Jesus F.
Yeah, dude.
There's a good horror movie plot, honestly, in a family reunion.
Yeah.
Has there been one?
Called a family reunion.
Pretty scary to begin with.
Yeah, but it was fun. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't really been, you guys, I apologize. I haven't been as committed to, I'm back, though. I'm back in action. I wrote the synopsis on the way here. I think it's, it's serviceable. So would you like me to go first, or would one of you like to go first?
No, you go first.
By the way, I found out my brother listens to this show, and I just want to say what up, Steve.
After this episode, Brendan is not invited to next year's family reunion.
All right, here it goes. With the help of her psychic intuition, Special Agent Lee Harker delves into her dark past in hopes of uncovering the identity of the satanic force responsible for the deaths of multiple families.
Solid.
Damn, that's good.
That's good. That's pretty good. All right. A dolled up Nick Cage channels the man downstairs to torment families with young girls, including a psychic / autistic / maybe less conversational Jodie Foster.
Okay.
Okay.
That's I made the same comparison.
Yeah, I made the comparison later on. We're going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I did it first right now, okay?
In the
Okay, I didn't write one. I forgot. But okay, let's see. Silence of the Lambs, except Nick Cage is playing Beetlejuice, and there's a little bit more supernatural shit, sort of.
Not bad.
Beautiful.
All right, let me find the real one because I didn't pull it up.
Well, he pulls that up. I mean, there's something to be said about a single man, a middle-aged man, seeing a horror movie at 2 p.m. on a Monday.
Did you just refer to yourself as middle-aged?
Yeah, I'm only living to like 60, dude. I'm halfway, baby. And it was just me and another guy another guy sitting in the last row of the theater.
Was it really only 2 people?
Yeah, it was just me and another dude. And I think we're probably on a list somewhere after today.
Wait, this might be a 2 Minute Baby first. The Rotten Tomato synopsis, also one sentence and one sentence only. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. Kind of like how minimalist that is.
That is.
That
I'm
sounds
used
like
to
it
them.
could have came out of Fletcher's mouth.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Listen, I
been
like to
side
keep it
hustling.
short. I like to keep it nice.
All right, wait. So before we get into the movie, I will set the scene for
Set it.
me and Will's viewing, and then we'll hear again. Brendan was alone with his absolute boy, in the back row. But we went to Regal Union Square.
Again.
Good theater. Sat down. Our friend Sean Dev, shout out, joined as well, and Lisa's there obviously. And we sit down and we get popcorn, and I'm so scared. And Sean is not helping because he's also scared. I'm used to being the only scared one. I look to these guys for comfort. I'm so scared, and then I have my notepad, and all I wrote down, I barely remember writing it down, but I just wrote in all caps, I think I got too high.
I saw that and I pointed and we both laughed.
Because I'm so used to like, oh, my friend's in town, we're going to see a movie, I'm going to get absolutely blasted. But it's never to see a horror movie because I don't choose to see these fucking things. And then we get in the theater, I'm like, what did I do? I've got this popcorn in front of me, and I'm scared of the person in front of me, like if I'm leaning on their seat too hard, let alone like a fucking serial killer, whatever the fuck movie. I also knew absolutely nothing going into it. I thought Longlegs
told me
might be
that
a
too.
spider reference.
Yeah.
Was
I think
not.
I said, I was
Daddy
like,
Longlegs.
this is going to make
Right.
it so much worse.
Ooh, Daddy.
Daddy Longlegs. I was like, "Where's Daddy Longlegs?" Wait, but does weed make you more scared, or like I don't?
Absolutely.
I've never smoked weed. So
Weed makes me scared. Like it turns like fucking Peter Pan into a horror movie for me. So I can't even
Interesting.
imagine. I can't imagine.
does it
I
make
lived it.
life scarier, or does it make it more
The thing about weed,
bearable?
This is the thing about weed. I've smoked weed every single day for 10 years. Not a brag. It's an
You wanna
addiction.
divulge that over here, dude?
And the thing about weed is somehow every single time I smoke, I get a little too high.
Every time.
Every single time. So I don't know why I do it to
Yeah.
myself, but it does make things scary. It makes buying a bag of chips scary, but then eating that chips, woo, that's
Eating that
yummy.
chips, baby.
I'm no mathematician, but maybe do less.
Oh, Will does
my-
telling me to do less. I got a real.
I mean,
Just
that
to let you know, this is our third time recording, and he needed to crack a White Claw on every take. He's got 17 White Claw cans in front
well, I
of him. ladies
still
and
didn't
gentlemen.
get it. It's
Yeah,
all right.
That's not the first. So again, I'm pretty much having panic attack. Will is still not here. We're like 15 previews in. He's still on the popcorn line because he's late. And then he texts me the most Will Dubs thing I've ever received in a text. He goes, "Yo, are the previews still playing?" Fair question. I go, "Yes." He goes, "Cool. How long until they're over?"
You suck, dude.
Because obviously I have the. I
'Cause
have
you're
fucking-
Nostradamus,
I have
dude,
John
honestly.
Regal
Yeah.
on the fucking line, and I'm like, "Hey, how long are the previews gonna be?"
Funny thing is, when you said that, I thought you were going to say the other text, which was "save me the middlemost seat."
Yes.
and you were like, "No."
No, absolutely.
I'm surprised
not.
he didn't ask you how long until I get my popcorn.
Daddy, can you get me a
I also
popcorn?
wasn't late. It took like 45 minutes to get my food.
That's fair.
I was on time.
But and then so everything was so scary to me, and then I'll tell you what brought me out. I was so scared that even when they make, when they play like 32 production company intro animations now, it's the
Yeah.
I think like SNL did a skit where it's like you keep thinking the movie's gonna start, but it's just a longer and longer like logo for like 21st century whatever.
Yeah.
Even those were scaring me. Like I was on edge. And then they played the fucking preview for this movie about a killer smart house, like
Oh.
a killer Alexa.
Afraid. It's called Afraid.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm calm now. I forgot that the world is stupid.
Preview for an episode too, maybe.
Yeah,
We might have to do it.
gotta have
I will say the Blumhouse intro, which was this is not Blumhouse. It is kind of scary.
Yeah, they know what
You
they're
know?
doing. But
We also had my friend Caleb who couldn't get a seat with
yeah,
us.
he
It
was
was
just
just
like-
randomly. We didn't. Yeah, it
Two
was just
seats
like,
in front
what's
and
up?
one to the right.
And then walked home.
Just
with
real
us.
quick, your guys' opinion about popcorn? Because
Yes,
let's
bro.
be honest, dude. Popcorn is the loudest snack you can possibly eat.
It is hilarious.
Right? It's crunchy, it's munchy, it's crackling, and it's popping. And there was the dude, I could hear the dude, the only other guy in the theater. He was on a jumbo sack.
This is my nightmare because I'm always
was
eating
crunching.
popcorn, and I'm like, God, I hope there's no Brendans in the theater paying attention to the sounds I'm producing.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
So, Abby, you saw the new Quiet Place. So did I. I was eating nachos.
Hell yeah.
And that movie, you don't want to put anything in your mouth.
the woman,
Yeah.
there was a couple behind me. on the
Nachos at a movie. You were eating nachos in the theater?
Who doesn't?
Dude, you're not in a Mexican cantina, dude.
Wait, speaking of, also, Regal's got chicken tendies now, dude. It's a whole new world out
Wait,
there.
But the mozzarella sticks at AMC
And
pop
mozzie-
off.
mozzies?
Hold on, no. But
They're
this
going
is
all the way.
this is a thing that
Yeah.
they're like.
Did you
some
bring a
of the best.
lobster bib with you? I got you.
I got an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet.
All right, no, but all right. To kick things off, just initial thoughts / would you recommend this movie? That's how we pop it off. That's how we blow our top. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it's so hard to just generally, without getting into it and going over, just giving one statement about it. I would say I enjoyed the movie. Yes, I thought I would recommend. I would. It's weird because my dad wants to see this movie and he's a big horror head. And he was like, "Let me know what you think of it."
You think he might not like it.
And I'm still trying to like let the movie sit with me a little bit because there are moments in this movie that I thought were so well done and so amazing, and then there were other parts where I was like, "Oh man, this is kind of
The opinion
kind of rough." But
Yeah.
The opinion is tough to form for a couple of reasons. Abby and I have both said that we've changed our mind about 5 times since we
same.
saw it.
Yeah.
And you saw it more recently, which makes it interesting.
My mind was like consistently changing during the movie. I was like, "Ooh, I like this." Yeah. But
The
we'll
other
get into
thing,
it.
though, is everybody is talking about it, and they had this mega viral campaign, and they're
PR,
hyping it as like the scariest movie of the decade.
Right.
So that there's no way around the hype influencing. You can't truly evaluate it on its own merit,
right.
which is annoying.
It was overhyped.
Abby, I mean, I also enjoyed it for sure. I was entertained. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. I'm trying my best to remove myself from the hype, and I can't. So I'm not sure where at the end of this episode I may have fully formulated my opinion, but I would say yes, I would recommend it at the very least. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think same. I would recommend it. I have flaws with it, which we're going to get into, but I would recommend it. I think to your point, Brendan, I think it's such a good point. It's essentially like it's an art film in a lot of ways.
Neon.
But yet it's marketed like it was going to be so down the middle.
Yeah.
And so it's like, on one hand, I respect them for doing that. On the other hand, I feel like there's probably some really angry people out there. Like some classic horror heads, like people that don't even like artsy movies, that just like horror, that saw Nicolas Cage, scariest fucking movie. They must fucking hate this thing. Because like,
Oh, dude,
I think we all like...
the horror subreddit is being so critical of it.
Yeah.
Fun fact, on TikTok, videos related to Longlegs, so this is part of their marketing campaign, have racked up over 51 million views. So this is a Neon independent film company generally, production company, got a wide release. It won the box office with $20 million, highest Neon release ever. So they did a good job marketing.
Insane.
But all things considered, that's low numbers for like, a wide release.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure A Quiet Place put up more than 21 million, right?
And it's interesting because, we're going to get to it in our Rotten Tomatoes segment, little cliffhanger, but I'm so curious what the audience is. I feel pretty strongly like I know what the critics will be like, but I'm so curious what the fucking audience is.
Yeah.
I have something to talk about with the Rotten Tomato later.
His eyes are wider than a fucking than a sunlight.
There's a lot
Well,
to
I have,
cover.
I have a little surprise for you guys.
It's just the fact that we let him know a thing we don't know is like feeding into that ego so strongly.
Wait.
Just like every
What are we
week
talking
he
about?
gets to know what the Rotten Tomatoes are, and
Oh
we
yeah,
don't.
no,
but
I want to say something real quick. My brother sent me an article, and he was like, "Are you going to cover this on your podcast?" And in the title of the article gave the tomato score.
Oh, okay.
So I already know.
So
But this was
I'm
3
the
weeks,
lone
2 weeks ago.
fucking ignoramus.
So this is what I was going to save it for later, but I think that it's becoming more and more impossible to avoid.
impossible.
It's literally like when you open up Netflix
Or
they,
Movie
they have the
Times.
little
Yeah.
it's in Fandango, the app.
Your boy,
AMC
I'm
app.
amazing at it. I can avoid. I don't even notice when my fucking best friends get haircuts. I am oblivious to everything.
That said, the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes specifically is the most unpredictable thing, and I actually pulled some of my favorite reviews from this film.
You got a haircut. Nice haircut, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wasn't
did.
You were
even-
trolling.
No, I
well,
actually wasn't.
Abbie wanted us to compliment his haircut.
Actually,
It looks
really
good.
wasn't. But wow,
It looks
I
good.
noticed,
No one will ever
and you
believe
are
me.
very handsome.
Thank you guys. Now I feel like
Why didn't I?
still-
I should have. Damn, I should have said something earlier, dude. Not a good friend.
friends.
dude.
That's not
Yeah.
the point.
We're
All
so-
right, wait.
dude, we're
so
so-
Yeah, I know.
Selfish.
before we get into the movie, I'm going to say that 30 more times. We're never going to talk about it. Actually, that's the real spin on this podcast. No, a few things about this director. So, firstly, I didn't know until it said it on the screen, but his name is Osgood Perkins, which with that name, you literally have to make horror movies or like run a company that manufactures weapons. I feel like are the only things you can do with the name Osgood.
Not to be confused with Perkins, the Pancake House chain.
Or Kendrick. Osgood Perkins, then I looked him up. Sean actually sent me the thing. I didn't do shit. But he is an actor in some things, including playing the creepy guy from Legally Blonde. I don't know if you guys knew that, but in Legally Blonde, there's like the nerd guy that like is getting shut down by these women. The woman literally goes like, girls like me don't go out with losers like you. And then Reese Witherspoon overhears it, and this is like her save the cat moment. She like turns around and like pretends to know him, and she's like, "Why didn't you call me back after you blew my mind that
yeah, I
night?"
remember that.
And yeah, she like it's very sweet. That's
Osgood.
fucking Osgood. He's the
Fucking
weirdo. in
tore
that.
it up
Yeah.
imaginarily.
Imagine, and then he's like filming things. I think he comes back in the crux of the movie, whatever. But yeah, it's so funny that he ended up being the director of this fucking movie. And you can tell me more. Has he made any other big movies?
The Blackcoat's daughter
yeah.
and one other, like the girl that lives, or I don't know. It's like the girl that lives in the house or something. But
the girl that lives
he
in the house.
like
Girl
to
in the house.
mix
It's pretty
to
good.
mixed reception. A
It's
lot
very
of people like the Blackcoat's daughter. It's also like
Yeah, well, I can. Yeah, there's some similarities actually. I felt with
this was
that
his-
movie and this movie.
This was his first big one.
Yeah, I mean, Blackcoat's daughter got a pretty big
Oh, it did?
reception.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
pretty well
positive.
known among like horror fans.
Cool.
Also, this is not a fun fact, at least not for Osgood. His mother killed in the Twin Towers, and his dad died of AIDS. And his dad is Norman Bates in Psycho.
Oh my god,
Yeah, the actor.
this kid is made for tragedy.
So
bad.
it's gonna come into play with the themes of this movie, methinks. But it sounds like we're all dying to actually talk about what happened. Before that, though, before we get into the explicit details, this show is called Two Men and a Baby. And the baby is Abbie Krinsky in the sense that he is not so fond of the horror movies. He finds them scary. And that also makes him the perfect barometer for how terrifying these movies are. So this segment is called Baby in the Corner, and Abby's going to tell us how scared he was, basically let you know how scary the movie actually is, and give us a rating on the Binkymeter.
All right. Well, as I said, smoked weed, escalated my meter immediately. Was very scared going into it. I feel like all horror movies are like this to an extent, but this was the most I can remember since we started this besides Talk to Me.
Stressed out.
Yeah, and it was very, very reminiscent of roller coasters. And growing up, me and Will grew up together, very reminiscent of roller coasters because it'd be me and Will, and it'd be Will pumped, and it'd be me like pretending that I was okay with it, but I really was having a pure panic attack in my head.
Yeah.
And then you get in that moment.
And Will asking, when's this ride over?
Yeah, Will,
I love roller coasters.
no, not in
dude.
a bad way, just like in
Just
a-
'cause
in
you
a-
have things to do.
Yeah. And I just there's the moment when it's just like it's too late. Like the seatbelts have went down, and I remember that like when the preview started, and I was just like, can I leave? Is it okay if I leave? What if I left? And I was just like, I can't. I gotta just wait this one out. So again, we'll get into the more details in the spoiler room, but I think it started scary, and I think the first scene is one of the best scenes of any horror movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I actually agree with that.
I wrote that
100%.
down. This is not a spoiler.
Yeah.
Best title card.
I wrote that
opening.
down too,
yeah,
dude.
Okay, yeah.
I wrote the exact same words. I said,
Nice.
I said literally these are the exact words that Daddy wrote on this thing. Opening scene was fantastic. Title card shot of Nick Cage with the prosthetic, creepy '80s whitewashed denim outfit with the camera flash was legitimately terrifying.
Okay, yes. Thanks. I'm glad we waited for
Oh,
this. Scroll.
Lisa and I both looked at each other and were like, Abby's fucked, dude.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow.
Yeah,
That's
it
all right.
was unfucking believable. So that's how it started. again, and I want to say that overall, I feel like all of us, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think we all might be a bit critical in that it was so hyped and we have a high bar and we've seen a lot of movies and we all three, I know me and Will love Nick Cage. So like, some people are like, oh, I want to see this movie except Nick Cage, like opposite, everything
The
about
dummies.
it. But I think that all in all, it was very scary. It's going to be up there, but it didn't reach the level that first scene set up. And I'll get more into it in the spoiler room.
Wait, Nick Cage was in this movie?
Yeah, that's how good of an actor he was. He couldn't even tell. No, but it didn't hold up quite to that level later, and I was still scared, but it wasn't the scariest movie. And I'll just hint that it has something to do with infallibility. I think that, like, the scariest horror movies to me, I realize as we go through this project, like Halloween is up there.
Unkillable entity?
Unkillable. And
Talk
that
to
doesn't
me.
make it right. And it doesn't make it better. I think this movie has a lot of merit, and other movies, even better movies than this, have a lot of merit without being scarier. But I think that this one, the main bad guy is not fully infallible, and I won't give away more than that. So I would say it was scary as fuck, but it wasn't.
Well, he's just a person, right?
It wasn't the scariest fucking movie of the year or what. Like, talk to me as we keep going. We're on episode 9 here. Talk to Me is really just every day raising in my ranks. That movie had me like scratching my skin out, and no movie since has had me at that level.
Not to try to influence your Binkymeter, but I think in terms of my opinion of how scary it was that this was at its core more of a psychological thriller, a la Silence of the Lambs,
Right.
Seven, Manhunter, whatever, where they felt like they had to inject 4 or 5 horrific moments. The first one being the best one. There's one other that I thought actually scared the shit out of me in the same way. But ultimately, it did feel like they wanted to check that box a few times.
And it was a cop movie, which is, again, as I'm a baby, I'm here to represent all of you listeners that are scared as fuck. But I think we're also all, us babies come in different shapes and sizes. And for me, like, for example, like if you're scared of gore, this is probably higher on it because it had some pretty grotesque gore in it. But that's not really what scares me.
Wow, I just remembered.
That was just a
Yeah,
little
it was like a crime horror also.
Crime,
like,
yeah.
like Seven, like all those movies. But so like when you need to have that interject the investigation kind of like narrative elements into the story, which like it's hard to make like the investigation process scary, or so you do have to have those little moments. And I do think there were moments like that were not scarier than the first scene, but were maybe as scary. But like it was very, to me, it was just, there was chunks of it being kind of slow. And
it was artsy and it was slow. I think it's time.
And also,
what's your Binkymeter
I have
score?
to do a number.
How many
Fuck, I
binkies
thought I
out
was
of
doing that
10?
at the end? I'm gonna say shit. I don't know what my other ones were. I'm gonna say it's an 8.
8? Yeah,
8.
I think that
It was scary.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it, guys. Let's
Insert new
Spoiler.
Brendan song.
yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll put some.
yeah, we just crept down. We're in the spoiler room now. We're going to talk about the movie in more detail and, without borders. That said,
Takes without borders.
We've played around with how we do this. We've tried hitting all the plot points. We've tried kind of free-flowing. I think this time we're just going to rip through what the movie's about and then discuss all the talking points that we want to hit. We all have our little nerd notes. So basically, Micah Monroe is an FBI agent. There is a serial killer at large who they know is associated with all these killings, but is never actually at the scene, with the exception of a letter being left behind. That kind of initiates the manhunt. You also find out that she has this strange, they call it intuition. Some might call it being psychic, but she's able to figure things out and start cracking open this
She
case.
hears like literal voices, like saying "look this way" or sort of.
She
like
just,
that, right?
the way they set it up is her first crime. She's
Right.
like, that's the house. And
right.
it was the house. And they were like, how did you know that? And she was like, I can only explain it as intuition.
Did we ever find out if that had any relation to the Longlegs killing?
No, the first house was no relation. That was just to set up her.
Just to set up her psychic powers. Okay, cool.
Anyway, so there's the breadcrumbs and she follows them. But basically the lore, what's important to know is that Longlegs, he is a Satanist and he's really crazy and kooky and scary.
Nick
And
Cage.
he is also a doll
Do you know Nick
maker.
Cage? Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Nick
no,
Cage's real name is Nick Coppola.
Yeah.
Yeah. Francis Ford Coppola's nephew. Keep going.
He's neffed up.
That's
dude.
that's a Fletch fact.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not a nep baby, it's a neff baby.
Do you know Nick Cage tried to buy a dinosaur skull for $300,000?
Tried to? What did he?
Do you know
card
Nick
decline?
Cage was married for 4 days?
Nick, wait, hold on.
Did you know
Fletch fact.
that Nick Cage, there was a photograph of Nick Cage, that's a guy that looked like Nick Cage, and people thought he was a vampire that returned back to present day?
Wow, did you know that his first name full is Nicholas?
I think I did know that actually. He's a doll maker who
Who he looks like what? He looks like Mickey Rourke regular. He looks like Danzig in a Twisted Sister fucking biopic.
He kind of looked like Marilyn Manson, dude.
Well, I think the implicate
There is some Manson.
I thought
Oh,
the
no, not Marilyn.
He
Yeah,
did
Marilyn
look like Manson.
Yeah, Manson.
Charles Manson.
No, Marilyn Manson.
Oh.
If you look at
Oh,
Marilyn's
that too,
facial,
yeah.
like facial
Yeah.
bone structure.
Both
Did
of
he
them.
have a picture of Charles Manson behind him, or was that?
It looked like an old picture of him, like when he was
Yeah,
younger.
that's what I took it as
Well,
too.
I think the implication that as a doll maker, he also kind of like
Your
Oh,
voice, dude, your voice
he's-
just did a weird thing. As a doll maker. Yeah.
Is he doll maker?
Yeah, his face was kind of doll-like. Well, they
He's
actually did that
self-
crossfade from the doll's face to his face. Remember?
Oh yeah, that was sick.
That was a good little.
His face
So
was
they-
fucking so scary.
Yeah.
So well done.
So good.
I could see some people being like, "That was ridiculous," but I
Which
thought
part?
I thought they pulled it off. There was no,
Oh yeah.
Oh, his look?
yeah, his look,
Yeah.
his acting,
Yeah.
his charisma.
But no, finish the. Finish
Okay,
the
all right.
Yeah, sorry.
So basically, he creates these dolls that have these weird orbs inside them that allow them to be possessed in some capacity.
The
And
dads. Does it always possess the dads?
so yes, so the dolls must be delivered to the households where the murders will take place, and the doll will initiate a possession of the father, who will then kill his wife and daughter on their birthday, the 14th of a month, or right around the birthday. Now we know Micah Monroe's born on the 14th, and we know her partner / boss FBI agent's daughter was born on the 14th. So
And
it's
it was
all
pretty obvious from the beginning that was definitely her in
Yeah.
the first scene. Like I
Yes,
feel like that
yes.
was not really a twist, but I liked it a lot. But I'm just saying, yeah.
So it's culminating to what you think is gonna she's connected to this case somehow.
Right.
What
It's
you
on the 14th. Also, did you guys see the fun fact? You know who else's birthday is the 14th?
Nick Cage.
Trump.
I just sucked it out.
What?
And he
Yeah.
got assassinated, attempted. So the doll didn't work this
Yeah,
time.
fucking Nick Cage. Go back to the shooting range, dude. Get that fucking aim up.
All right, let's not promote political violence, please. Thank you very much. We are all American citizens here. Stubbs can finish.
So Micah Monroe's character is realizing that she's a part of this, and we think it's all culminating to her birthday. She gets a note from Longlegs. Turns out the real last murder, the one that hasn't happened yet that they know is happening, is her boss's daughter. And
Ruby, don't take your love to town.
And in her figuring that out, she's convinced that Nick Cage has an accomplice. It turns out the accomplice is her own mother,
It's mama.
in which she basically made a deal that she will help Nick.
Mother. See, it is all Danzig,
Danzig.
related, dude.
Deal with
I love
the
that song.
Deal with that.
She will help in exchange for Nick Cage not hurting her daughter, which also meant that she would know or learn or remember Nick Cage, that she met him, that he's living downstairs in their house. She basically was like,
He was living downstairs?
hey, literally
Remember
the
when she
man
wakes up in the bed-
downstairs.
when she wakes up in the bed and she walks up to her own house.
The footage of her with him.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby. Oh, there's so much to unravel here.
Dude, I did not. Sean didn't realize that either, I don't think.
So when I
That
go
must have
back,
been some really strong marijuana, dude.
so when I go back and forth, this is one of the things that makes me like it more, because I think this is a message about trauma, like repressing your
no,
trauma.
That's true. The brand of weed that I've been smoking is called lobotomy, literally.
So
Oh my god, dude.
also, before she figures that out, Nick Cage has already got caught, kills himself. Hail
he goes
Satan!
Bash Brothers on him. That
Yeah,
was
that
a
was
great scene.
That
Wait,
so
what
you
scene
you
you talking about?
when he smashes his head, when he goes objection.
Oh
and then
yeah,
he doesn't actually-
Heredity, Heredity ripoff.
Heredity,
yeah.
Hereditary is coming with the meta keys. For the keys. Hereditary ripoff. Sorry.
But he smashes his face. It was like the first two smashes were like crazy.
Yeah,
Then
warming
immediately
up.
his face opens up, and
Yeah.
you can just see his bone structure.
Oh, yeah.
And then he keeps smashing it.
His
It was
didn't like
great.
his jaw come
Yeah,
like
his jaw was loose.
yeah, and she's just there
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
getting splooshed on by the blood.
And we'll talk about it. I didn't understand plot wise why
Didn't
he killed
care for it.
himself, but I liked the scene. I like that's fun gore.
Yeah, it was fun.
well, he had exhausted his role,
His duty.
from Satan.
They also did this classic thing where she like leaves the room and she's like terrified, and then this is a new. I want to start deeming these like as I'm learning more about horror movies, like a classic horror trope, which is I'm going to deem it the NCC, which is the never change clothes or never clean clothes.
Oh, yeah, where the
C can
blood is
stand
just
for-
on.
It's
Yeah.
just like once that happens, it's like, oh, I guess she'll be wearing a bloody shirt. It's like, that's disgusting. That's another person's blood. That wouldn't stay on you for 5 seconds, let alone
Yeah.
3 scenes later. She still's got Nick Cage's tooth blood on her.
I have
I didn't notice that.
I have another
Yeah.
fun fact about that scene. So obviously they drew inspiration from Seven in this movie. They said that the same way Kevin Spacey just turns himself in, totally unexpected beat in Seven, he shows up. He really wanted that unexpected. Yeah, so
leaves.
him killing himself and there still being a whole final act to the movie and
yeah.
there's still being danger. He said that he really loved that about Seven and he wanted to maintain the fear while killing the
But it didn't maintain the
It didn't,
fear.
it
ruined
didn't, and it sort of feels like he forced
yeah.
it in based on another movie, which checks
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there. Sorry, Osgood. More
Sorry,
like
Osgood.
Osbad.
It's bad. Sorry, dude.
All right. So I guess the last thing is that her mom kind of confesses, but there's a doll of her that was intended to be for her. The mother
Right.
shoots the doll. This black
Shoots
dust.
the FBI agent the fuck up.
Oh,
first.
that was
Yeah.
crazy. But the dust releases from her, and then all of a sudden, like all these memories come back. But
Her pupils dilate like my cat when he gets excited, and I thought she was gonna become evil at that point, but no, it was just like a memory dilation.
well, I think that it released her from any suppressed or connection to Longlegs was like severed in the way that now she knew everything that's going on. She
Memory
goes.
dilation, dude.
So she goes to the final birthday of the daughter. It's too late. The doll's already there and has met the dad. So dad's possessed. Kills the mom off screen.
A pretty funny scene. When the mom's like,
wait.
I'm
He's
going to the kitchen.
Yeah, he's
and
like, and you won't be returning, but I will. Meaning that you're gonna die.
Yeah,
It's like, all right, we get it. You're gonna kill her.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was
He
that
was
marked,
comedic
That
relief.
marked that part was funny exposition, but that marked like I think we probably all are gonna say is like one of the most over the top classic exposition. Like just like, and then I was the mom, and I was actually bad, and then I had to. Then it was just like, oh Jesus Christ, guys, you're like an art film. You're not even tying all the knots yet. The knots you are tying, you're tying in like all 100 size Helvetica font.
Yeah,
in
it
our
wasn't.
fucking faces.
It wasn't subtle, but I will say it was cool because they go back and forth the flashbacks, and every flashback is the
Polaroid.
framed
Yeah.
smaller thing.
Yeah.
and they transition seamless to the small one, but then would widen slowly. I don't know. Cool
Oh,
thing.
that was cool. Yeah.
But anyway, so she kills the dad to prevent the dad from killing the daughter, and then kills her own mother because the mom looked like she was going to finish the job. Then she points the gun at the doll, and either there are no bullets or Satan is intervening.
Right.
But the gun clicks and does not fire.
And she's a cop. I mean, God forbid she'd ever think about
Reloading?
reloading.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
gun.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be insane.
But I think the point is you're not supposed to know what happens after that. It just cuts. I think she says, "You really are scum."
Wait, did we ever find out what did
No,
you
I
take
Googled
Brennan,
it.
from the last line? Do you remember?
She's pointing at the doll, and she says,
I think she
"One."
says, "You really are scum." But no,
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, she says a line. I didn't remember it
And
either
then-
until Will asked me.
and then it cuts.
Pointing at the Ruby's doll.
Yeah, she shoots. She goes to shoot, reload. Then she says one line. Cut to the end of the movie.
Well, no, there's
She
one
said-
more cut.
She goes,
that's
hasta la vista.
Yeah.
doll. I don't know. I don't remember.
there's one last.
Hasta la vista, baby doll.
Baby girl.
There's one
This
last.
movie was
Stay
tra-
on
I'm
my
joking, sorry. This movie was good. I loved it.
There was one last frame after that, and it cuts to Longlegs one last time, who says, "Hail Satan." So
Oh, true,
it's kind of like, well, did he win? But yeah. So let's open up the floor. It sounds like there's a lot of questions we have, a lot of plot points, a lot of little thingies that people want to
I got a question.
discuss.
Where can I get my $14.95 back from Fandango?
there
Wow,
Because I'm bet on
$14.95
Lee.
So cheap.
Yeah. Yo, this guy fucking
It was not
haggled.
bad, but no, I liked it again. I liked the movie. I thought the first the opening scene, it like gave me that thing that I love about watching horror movies. It gave that chill down my spine, made me feel unsettled. It hit me in all the right spots, Unfortunately, that feeling went away very quickly.
Yeah, it didn't get back.
Sort of like the first Omen. That blew its load early.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, but the level,
But, yeah,
the high of that good.
That was
scene,
Exorcist
well,
levels for me. That was like,
was-
whoa! I haven't felt this since like watching The Exorcist.
So I alluded to your Binkymeter about one other jump scare that I thought was almost, if not as scary.
Yeah.
And it's when she's looking at the Polaroids and sees
Yeah.
that it's the same
same thing.
frame.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
That was another one.
It's just as startling to relive
Yeah,
it
Dude, I'm
because
getting
And then they
shivers
do like
right
that
now.
acid LSD like effect to
Flashback.
it. Like
It
it's
was-
like a rainbow thing. Also, another scene
they're like,
was
you
when
got to
see-
experience that again, and
Yeah.
she did.
When you see the doll under the veil and you see the piercing
Yeah,
eyes
that
of
was
the
scary.
devil,
That was very scary.
like, ooh, I
and
like
that was,
that.
and I think that's so. All right, so overarching, I have a lot of questions, but the overarching thought is, I think there's two ways that they could go with this, and they didn't do enough of either for it to be just purely great. Which is either I think there's a cool twist where Nick Cage's character Longlegs is fallible. That's what we find out sort of quickly when we see him walk into the store. You see his face, his mystery starts being less and less, and I think he becomes less scary, which makes me less scared, but doesn't make it worse. I think that's a really cool way to play it. This is a crazy satanic guy. But then the dolls thing, it's like I think they didn't decide how supernatural to be. And if they want to be purely supernatural, which is to believe that these dolls make someone kill, like with Satan's power, we need to know a little more. I'm not saying spell out who Satan is in this world and all of their goals, but I needed a little more. And that really is where I got lost in it. And that's my biggest flaw with it.
I like
Yeah.
that store scene, but then she's
So
like,
did I.
"Dad, the
No,
creepy guy's here again."
I
and
loved
that's
it
kind of
because
funny.
it was bringing him down to earth, and you realize,
Yeah.
oh, this is not who I'm scared of. I'm scared of the man downstairs. I'm scared of the sub basement tenant, which is the devil. Like, I like that. But
One thing I
still-
didn't like was him in the car by himself. We don't need
Oh,
to
I loved
see
it.
him by himself
that.
ever.
Yeah,
though.
I didn't mind that
I
either.
thought Nick
I liked
Cage.
it.
First of all, we had to talk about how great Nick
Oh,
Cage
yeah.
was in this film. I was left wanting more of him in
Yeah,
the movie.
let him out of the cage,
And like
dude.
every scene that he was in, I thought was good. And there was these moments where he would do these little songs, and I was wondering, I wonder if he's like improvising in some of these scenes because they're so weird.
Yeah.
Like they're so Nick Cage.
Well,
that he
he's-
walks that line of like just insane enough to not be corny or you want to laugh at it. Like, you know what I mean? He was doing these voices and stuff, and they were unsettling and not – because sometimes you see those scenes and they make you laugh in a bad way. They're like, this is ridiculous.
No.
This is not a real
Yeah.
person. But it felt like an insane,
I never got
deranged
I never got taken out of a movie, which is amazing for that famous of an actor that I've followed forever. For him to not take you out of that movie is such a phenomenal acting.
And I just want to say one thing. So I actually forgot the fact that Nick Cage was in this movie, and after the title card scene, and when it said Nick Cage as Longlegs, I was like, oh, damn it! I wish they didn't say that because
Right.
because you don't see his face, right?
Yeah,
you see just the
right,
bottom
right.
of his mouth. And even when it's so quick when he pops down, he's like, I was wearing my long legs, and then he pops down, and I was like, oh my god, who is that? And it made it even better because the whole premise of this dude is that he's strange. You can't place him in time,
Right.
in a time or place. And then immediately, like, it's Nick Cage, and I was like,
I
I
know.
wish they maybe hadn't.
I agree.
Done
I
that.
mean, the man needs credit, but I agree.
yeah, we'll do it at the end of the movie, but
Sean
yeah.
was the same thing.
He didn't even know.
He didn't know Nick Cage was in the movie, and I really wish he found out at the end
Yeah, do it
instead
at
of
the
right
end,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It'd be like that the Tropic Thunder, Tom Cruise.
Right.
whatever,
The
So-
twist.
Is the
So that Fletch fact that you gave before, Fletch fact, about Nick Cage buying a dinosaur head or something.
head, skull, yeah.
So he put himself into a ridiculous amount of debt, right? And everybody talks about there was like the McConaissance. Remember that where Matthew McConaughey did Mud and True Detective and Dallas Buyers Club, and they're like, wait, this guy really is actually a good actor. Nick Cage had won an Oscar already, and then he does a whole bunch of ridiculous movies, bankrupts himself to the point where he has to just say yes to any script that he can, and that ended up getting him a lot of these indie roles where people finally were like, all right, he's actually a good actor. Mandy, Joe, Bad Lieutenant, Pig. I mean, this one for sure. But he is now like emerged as
the
this
color of Space.
Color Out of Space.
Color
And
Out
then
of
he
Space,
did that
yeah.
one where it's like where he plays himself and it's sort of tongue in cheek. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I like that one. The Invaluable something of something. It's like a trades one.
But we almost have his own insanity to thank for his like second coming, and I think the reconnaissance is better than the reconnaissance.
I agree. I mean,
I
Nick
love-
Cage is
I
unbelievable.
love him.
He's unbelievable.
Oh, and what was the one he just did? Dream Scenario.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah. But what do you? I mean, without getting too much into plot and stuff, what do you guys think in terms of like?
Well, so can you explain what you took from it? Because I feel like clearly I missed something. So the devil, he's hailing Satan. He's making a little pentagram. That part was sort of frustrating to me. Like we've seen such better versions, like True Detective, all these things where it's like more mysterious. This was like, oh, he's making an upside down pentagram. Okay,
Yeah.
Like
He's just a vessel for evil. I think
Right.
that we have to accept. The lore was, yeah, they didn't get too into it.
I thought they should have gone into the lore more because
I agree.
that's what a movie like Seven. That's where a movie like Seven succeeds, where you take that big second act, right? And they're in the they're in the library. They're studying like ancient texts and stuff, and they're making these ties. And you don't really you get the motivation behind Kevin Spacey's character in Seven, whereas in this movie it felt like a lot of wasted opportunity and. Like really after that scene where she's like, oh, he's in this house and they find the guy, right? And they, her partner's head gets, he gets shot and they go in, they get this guy. Like from that point on, when she's kind of discovering these clues, she discovers the 14th day and stuff, that was good. But I felt like they could have dug in a little deeper into this character because he's so crazy and eccentric that he deserves a little more fleshing out.
I
in my
agree,
opinion.
and
Yeah.
I think that's where I think it's like you can go again. True Detective, which I think we all know, and I know Ryan behind me. Carcosa, like that is like the perfect like you can go into the lore, and it doesn't mean spell it all out. True Detective, I still don't fucking really
No, they
know
don't really
what it was,
explain
but
any-
it does enough to give you a little bit of a taste.
Yeah.
This gave you right to the point, and then it was like either more or less.
Yeah.
Because I think if you did less, I was trying to say this before. It's like I think there's a cool movie in here where the dolls are almost like the dolls involved, but Nick Cage is killing these people. Because then I think it's this cool
Yeah, I
twist,
agree.
which is like, serial killers aren't infallible. They're sometimes crazy people
Yeah,
that fall into
exactly.
Satan.
Make it real.
But-
make it real.
right,
make
exactly.
him. Don't make it because devil. Like I
Right,
hate that when it's like, oh,
exactly.
it's because Satan. Because hail Satan. That's what I'm doing. Because
Right.
Satan.
And the
Well, it's
metal
like, well,
thing,
you're-
they don't even explain the metal thing.
I don't
just,
have
like,
any
works.
problem with the
but like
lack
the
of-
magical element too. It's like with the black dust floating out. It's
yeah.
like,
Well, yeah,
all right,
I-
well, let's just go into it a little more if we're gonna go that
Right,
route,
if we're
or
gonna go
let's
that route.
let's make Nick Cage the one that let's go into his backstory. How did he become the way he is? Like I don't know.
I don't have a problem with not knowing more about him. I do have a problem with them half-assing the supernatural element because it makes me wonder, would I have liked it better if there just wasn't any?
That's
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
what I
right.
think, yeah.
Because
But-
the most intriguing part of this movie was Nick Cage,
Cage,
right?
for
So,
sure.
so either give it, it's just
If you
it felt like a lost
overindulge,
opportunity.
he loses some of his
it
luster.
wasn't-
It's
they
kind of
didn't
like
even
the
touch on
Joker
him
in The
yet.
Dark
For
Knight.
sure.
Like,
But if you overthink this movie, which is a fair thing, you don't want to overthink it. But if you think really at all, it sort of falls apart. Like, why did Longlegs go into her house and leave her a note to help her try to find? I
Yeah,
was
right. They
confused by
never
that.
expanded on that really.
Like because they needed her at the end, but
he
Because he's like, if you tell your mom about this,
I'm
I'll
gonna
kill her.
kill her.
Because maybe if he tells her, then she'll remember or something. I don't.
he's
It just-
connected. She's part of the like.
right,
He's
but she was already part of it. Like she was
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Ruby. Like they did the plan, so I don't even get it. I hope the camera can get Will's face because this is
I
like,
am stumped.
Yeah, and
wha-
there was a few other scenes like that. That was like, okay, what's the point?
And why are they? Why is he want to kill the families? Why? Like
He's
what's?
just a vessel for the.
But that's stupid, dude.
right.
He's a vessel for Satan. That's the only reason. It's like, well,
mean,
come on, let's
but
make
it-
it different from every other Satan movie. It's like because Satan. It's
Well, part of the theme
I
of
want
the
my
movie.
$14.95 Fandangies.
Part of the theme of the movie is that there is evil and it cannot be dismantled, and
Yeah.
it's just going to be there, and that sucks.
no, and I like that. I think that's.
But I will say, I read an interview, and this actually now hearing you guys talk about Nick Cage, the director said Longlegs was a character he had, and he wrote him into the movie. The movie didn't have a script, and Longlegs was a character. He always wanted to make
Wait, so Nick Cage had long legs?
No.
Oh,
The
sorry.
director who wrote it had this. He had been wanting to tell a story about this thing that was in his head, Longlegs being the thing, and he almost wrote the script. Or like he forced this person into a story. It's not a story that he wrote, and Longlegs became a
He
character.
shouldn't have admitted that because it felt like a
Well,
fucking
now
story.
that I'm like,
it's
all
like
right.
Sling Blade, where Billy Bob Thornton wrote the character and then built the story around the character.
And isn't
right?
the idea
Yes.
that Sling Blade is way better in the short
It's-
form
yeah,
than the
it's-
long one?
Yeah, the speech.
Yeah.
And he actually wrote the speech and then built the story.
Do the
Dude, but
impression, Brendan. Brendan does it great.
I'm gonna have to tell that wash. Titers. But listen, the guy didn't even have long legs, dude.
He did.
He kind of
The
did.
guy had the regular legs. I was expecting
There were only
like
two of them.
I wanted some
Still-
long ass legs on
Nah,
this guy.
but come on,
Listen,
we
if
can't
you're
hate
gonna-
on that first scene. That's
But
the
if
greatest
you,
scene.
it was good. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want my long legs.
Yeah.
That's so good.
All right, I will say so other things that I learned from this interview, and this is hopefully maybe I don't know, we'll change your opinion. First of all, before I talk about the interview, question. Do you think that she was psychic or
was it the powers?
was the intuition a byproduct of her unrepressing memories? Therefore, she's not really intuitively feeling something, it's she's remembering
Oh, that's
it.
interesting because I thought of a third thing. I thought that it was Satan by the end. I thought Satan was giving her the powers to intuit so that she would make herself part of this case so that she would end up,
TurboTax.
yeah, so that she would intuit TurboTax herself right into Ruby's fucking Don't Take Your Love to Town party where the doll could come out, Agent Straker, whatever his name was. That's what I thought. That was mine. But it's a good point.
Wait, ask the question again because a lot of that jargon went right over my head.
Brendan was
Well,
thinking about it.
shout
Do you
out-
think it's a projection of the psycho pseudo self, or do you think that maybe it's the internal dialogue that's shining through on the DSM-5?
Are they on 5? What?
I
no,
like
they're
the
definitely
movie.
on.
They're
Yeah,
still
I thought
on
it was
5.
good.
They
They're on
won't
5
update
still?
that shit.
Damn, they
The
need.
laziest
Yo, if they
fucking
make a
site.
sequel, let's cover that,
Yeah,
dude.
DSM-6 is going to be a real
So
horror
ask
story.
the question again for dumb
Won't
All
even
right.
accept complex
So-
trauma.
So you find out that the man, he's working for the man under the stairs, but he also was the man under the stairs. He was living in the house. He had contracted with the mother. He was always around, and there are
Yeah.
even scenes of him interacting with young what's her face. She remembers none of it until she sees the photo. She gets a little bit of and then when her doll is shot, everything is back.
Go back to the question.
So the question is, her intuition, is that just
psychic
she is
powers.
just born a psychic and she is a psychic and we accept that? Or is the intuition
Repression.
it's unrepressed memories?
Yeah.
But then
So that means that
what
the
the
guy
fuck
in
is the first
scene,
house?
Yeah, that he was part of it.
See, that's what you
or
have to
you
think
heard mine.
about.
That's
Good take.
another writing mistake.
Therein
No,
lies.
I still think it was Satan. If that checked out to me.
Well, yeah,
Satan
I mean,
gave her
Yeah, I don't know.
powers.
Yeah, that's
the
a good
doll,
question.
her doll exists, yet she is not. Like, here's the other thing. All right, this is where we're really
That
going to
was
get
scary,
into
by
it.
the way. Her walking through that house, that would fuck me up. I want to give that credit. When she's walking through the house after her partner gets shot in the head, and she's like going up the stairs, and there's all the plastic around. That was
I also like the tension of her in her own house when she goes outside and you see him.
That was an unbelievable scene. He
Great
goes
scene.
into it. That was a really good scene. Also, they
Well,
shot
he's
it.
outside and
They
then he's
shot
inside.
the house so cool. It was like miniaturized.
Yeah,
like it must have
yeah.
been like a tilt shift lens or something. Like
Yes.
they had it super wide, looked like a miniature house. Nick Cage walking through the house. That was really good.
Yeah.
But so here's the now we're getting into themes, and this is gonna, I promise, tie back to the interview. So first of all, I think this has something to say about trauma. Obviously, repression, trauma being a superpower if used right. It's what allowed her to solve that. But also, at the end of the day, she can't beat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means. So the director said, and this was also a theme in the movie, he being the son of a horror icon, actor himself, Psycho, they in his house would protect him from the stuff, Psycho and all the other shit, like wouldn't let him watch it. And he kind of like despised that.
This is like how I am with junk food. I wasn't allowed to have it. Now I eat it like it's my fucking last day on earth.
So she clearly resents her mom for the fact that she hoards, but also she said you were allowed to grow up. And she's like, Mom, what are you protecting me from? She doesn't like it, but she also doesn't know what it is. So that he's like echoing his own, I guess, trauma, and then his parents died. The other thing is what protects her and this family, ultimately, the fact that he even made the deal with her, there's no dad, right? Growing up without a father, that's traumatic in itself, right?
Yeah.
So the dad is always the murderer. He's not there. Did that protect them in a way? So, the whole thing about trauma making you who you are, making you stronger, but also something that you can never be totally unbound from. That's, I just thought it was interesting that he specifically wanted to tell a story that echoed his own feeling of overprotection as a child.
Is that what he said? That's what the movie's about?
He also said he will not do that to his kids.
His kids will have trauma from him being Legally Blonde. Dad's a nerd. His name's Osgood.
His name in the movie was Dorky David.
Well, I can read this verbatim from.
No.
I try not to tell my children any protective lies, having grown up in a family where certain truths were curated, not maliciously and with any kind of cruelty or dismissiveness, but rather as a move to sustain the family and keep things together. So the idea that a mom in this case can create a story, a lie, a narrative, a version, and dress their children in it like a hazmat suit is definitely where the movie came from. That's the kernel of truth that started the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually in a very deep, in real sense, it's like, that's like, if you get into politics or anything, it's like a lot of times when you lie to someone to try to protect them, you're actually perpetuating further problems. And sometimes the truth sets us all free.
True.
All right,
I'm sure he cried himself to sleep in that giant mansion with all that psycho money his dad made. But anyway, Osgood, good job, dude.
So let's get to the nitty gritty here.
Before we score, I have two questions. I just want to know: do you think? Because I thought instead of cutting,
that's a first.
And nobody can hear Ryan laughing outside the room at me. I thought instead of cutting to Nick Cage being like, "Hail Satan," I really thought the way it was going to end was that she was going to. The gun doesn't work on the doll. She's going to turn and shoot the little girl.
100%. Yeah,
and I thought that would have been a more powerful ending of evil wins no matter what.
No, I'm glad they didn't do that.
So that's your answer? What do you think?
I didn't care at that point. I didn't care.
Brennan's too good for movies, dude.
I'm just being honest.
All right, the other question was, what do you think what's the importance, there's a fancier word, for the framing, much like a slideshow that they have, like an old
film,
projector.
yeah.
What is
the significance?
Why significance? Yeah. Thank you. That's a big word for me, dude. Why do they frame the flashbacks like that? I also think he did an amazing job where all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, it's smaller, and you don't see the transition.
Yeah, that was cool.
There.
Although the snakes, I didn't like those little cut to the snakes. Okay,
there were a couple of
film school
flash cuts like Exorcist.
Okay, Verite, whatever it's called. The class I skipped.
I mean, framing can be a very deliberate tool in filmmaking to mean
it's like
something.
Battleship Potemkin when the soldiers are trying to take over the ship and then they cut to maggots eating the corpse, right? It's these images that relate in a way, and then he leaves an impression on the viewer. Well, we talk about
you guys brought me to the most well done famous one ever, which is The Exorcist. Like the little jumps.
Yeah.
But so to your point, Will, do you what was the significance of why we're seeing it in Polaroid? Well, I think it was literal to that they took the Polaroid at the beginning.
Yeah. She was taking the
That's
Polaroid
it.
picture.
So I just feel like it was such a deliberate choice, and I thought it was cool, and it looked cool.
I think it sounds like it was, now learning a little more about Osgood, I still think he made a good movie here, but it sounds like he probably was like, Polaroids are cool. Let's put them in there.
Well, the movie takes place in the 90s, right?
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah. So when she's a kid, she's in
70s.
the late 70s.
Look, all right, we got to push things along.
Yeah, let's push.
I completely forgot. We have Rotten Tomatoes, where it sounds like Brendan had trouble avoiding the score. Doesn't matter. But the whole bit of Rotten Tomato is that I know what the score is, but these guys
Will's
don't.
Gotta know what we don't know. It's his power of Google.
I mean, sometimes I don't have to try, but in this case I did. I know. What do you guys think the score was?
Okay, so Brendan, you're pulling yourself out of the critics guessing.
Yeah,
but you don't know the audience, or you do know the audience?
I don't know the audience.
Okay, so I know neither. I feel really like the baby here in my ignorance. So I'm gonna guess again. I think the movie critically is good. It's artsy. The flaws are there. I'm gonna guess it's an 88% in terms of critics. Did I just nail it? Will gave me the
7%.
Oh,
dude.
wow.
Nice.
Oh wow! When the article was sent to me, it was 97%.
Yeah, it was.
so you could have guessed. So it was
I
way
didn't know
different.
because
All
you
right,
guys
yeah,
remember I said it changes.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, does not change. Rotten Tomatoes do not change quickly.
The thing about a tomato is once it's rotten or it's good.
Remember
it
we had that
stays good.
conversation.
It was an indie
once?
release, so it had been
Yeah.
screened, and a lot of
Yeah.
people had reviewed it. But then it got the wide release, and more critics.
Okay, so 90% or 87%. Okay, wow, I nailed it. I'm so good. Audience is where it's going to really get interesting. I think the hype was too big. I think people are weird about Nick Cage, one, even though he's great. And I think, two, I think that it's a little too artsy and weird and slow. And three, it had some serious real flaws that we smarties
Big
pointed out.
expose over here.
So I'm going to say that the audience score is a 79. Let Brendan
I'm
go.
gonna say it's a 64.
Whoa. That's too edgy. That's too edgy.
God damn, you guys are 63. So he was within one.
Wrong.
All right. So this is what I wanted to say about this. I'm realizing going forward, it's going to be very hard to avoid the regular score.
Not for me.
The audience score is so unpredictable and so funny. I started reading some of these. So the big discrepancy last week was last episode, Violent Nature was like 80s or 90s, and then the critics or the audience was like 40 something percent. And I was like, all right, got to read about this. So here are some of, like, the audience, obviously they're gonna be like, oh, these, critics, it's clearly AI, it's the bots, right? And they don't like, but it was a 5-star review that just said, where can I find streaming? And then another, this is more sophisticated, 2 stars, Medicare at best. Mediocre, I think, is what they were going for. Medicare.
Mediocre for all, dude.
At best,
Medicare at best,
this
dude.
movie supports Medicare.
Dude, we need to reelect Biden because he's going to make mediocre for all.
So I think
Universal mediocre.
I think there's something to Rotten Tomatoes more being about the audience score. That said, I think that if we really want to try to guess, Metacritic is interesting because they weight it. They weight it. So instead of just doing,
for me.
well,
It's an aggregate of IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. You know that, right?
Well,
Metacritic.
Aggro.
Do you know what aggregate means, dude?
No, that's not what it is. It's the same thing
Aggregate.
it's the same thing as Rotten Tomatoes, except instead of it just being is a review good or bad and what percent is good versus bad, Metacritic, they take the weighted reviews. So 4 stars is an 80, 2 stars is a 40.
Right.
And that's how it often means nothing is in the 90s.
I will leave this podcast if we don't do Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, we're people of the people.
Wait. Metacritic, it says it right here. Aggregate.
Yeah, they aggregate.
That's what I say. It's
but they don't aggregate other aggregators. They aggregate all critics.
This is aggregate
I'm
content.
gonna aggregate all over this table in 2 seconds. We don't move on, dude.
All right, so we know what the critics said. We know what the audience
What do the
said.
real critics say?
Yeah, what are the important folks? The big dogs.
Let the big dogs eat, dude.
Big dogs
Okay.
and the little baby dog.
This is what I. Damn it! I'm trying to make myself a big dog. I want to say one last overarching statement. I do think I'm getting a little less scared of scary movies. I'm still terrified, but I'm having a little more fun doing this than I did at the beginning.
To be fair, it wasn't. Oh, I didn't say that. It wasn't that scary. Every jump scare, they relied so heavily on the shrieking, shrill noises injected. So they were kind of cheap.
Under the thing were scary. But either way, I'm just saying I'm having fun. I love you guys so much. Okay, I'm gonna give this movie an 8.3.
8.3 what?
8.3. Oh my God. I'm going to give it 8.3 little empty metal brains because that's
Damn,
what
I was
I'm coming
gonna
up
say
with it with.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give it a flat 7.0 because honestly, this movie.
Whoa!
No,
Wonky,
dude, it was Medicare at best, dude.
Dude, you gave, what did you give Saw fucking 42?
Yes.
Like a 7.5?
9.9, I think. Perfect movie, he said, quote unquote.
If only this could be
can I
more like
change my-
Saw and Thanksgiving.
No,
Seven-
Saw was low.
7.0,
I
dude?
definitely gave Violent Nature and
Higher. Way
and
higher.
Thanksgiving higher ratings. I think.
higher.
Well, no, and I'm not afraid to it. It is 100%
Based on the
suffering
hype.
from the hype and all
Do
the.
you want your
No.
score to live
Wow.
like that?
It was
you're just a
higher.
hype bro,
no, but you
dude.
guys are honestly made
Hype
some
beast.
really good points that made me
Hipster.
annoyed.
well.
No, I'm saying you guys are influencing me in a
We're
positive.
pulling at you and telling you that your number's wrong.
Dude, we'll let the 7 listeners.
Based on what
make
you
their own
said, I
opinions
don't
about your-
understand why you gave it an 8.3.
Because it was still a good movie. It had, again, the first scene had one of the best scenes in horror I've ever seen. So
That's
that
fair.
has
That's
to be
fine.
held
7.0.
up.
All right, all right.
7.0.
No. I will say if somebody was like, "Yo, have you ever seen this?" and I
Right,
never
right,
heard of
right,
it, and
right,
I
right.
just watched it, I would have been like, "Damn, that shit was fire."
Okay.
All right.
See, that's what I think.
Okay,
A score should be based
maybe Well,
We got a retcon. We got a retcon.
I'd say 7. All right, 7.5.
All right,
7.5.
We talked them up.
Medicare.
I think you'll be happy with that later. Metaphysically.
All right, Brendan, go.
Let's IMDb.
So I did enjoy the movie overall. I wasn't like, there was moments where, I don't know. It's hard to do this, dude. It's hard to like boil it all down to one number. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to think about it and I'm going to tell you guys.
Yes.
Because I just came to me 8.3. And guess what? Is that what you said?
No, Ryan just woo in the
No,
background.
you can agree. You didn't think of it because of me.
8.3 and 8.3 pyramids, because here's my final Nicolas Cage fact. When he dies, Nicolas Cage would like to be buried inside a pyramid. Thank you.
National treasure is Brendan Fletcher.
I do think we should write down our scores before and not be able to change them.
I like
after
that.
I
the
changed mine
episode.
like 10 times before I even said that. Dude.
I also think you guys are
Ryan,
dumb.
who's not allowed to have a mic.
That's
will be
okay.
in
We all
charge of
think
that.
each other's dumb. That's what makes this podcast so great and beautiful.
2